special recognitions. But before we get started, if you're not standing already, could you please stand for the singing of our national anthem, sung today by Co-Brown's own Nina Laramie.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, at this time, I'd like to introduce Board of Trustee member, Ms. Susan Ashley, for our Athletic Hall of Fame induction.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Behind me, we have Brent Kasich and Tim Cox, and today we are so happy to be inducting them into the CBNA Athletic Hall of Fame. And we're doing it together for them because so much of their lives have been intertwined. So I'm just going to read you a little bit about Brent and Tim. They met in grad school in the 1990s at the University of North Carolina at Wilmington and became friends. The two had a group of friends who spent long Sundays playing beach volleyball. If you ask them, they had one big thing in common. They didn't like to lose. They are competitive. While in Wilmington, they met their future wives, who happened to be cousins. So now you could say they are related. Brent Kasich is a New Hampshire native, as is his wife, Amy. They moved back to New Hampshire, where Brent accepted a position as a special education teacher at Co-Brown Northwood Academy in 1998. During his second year at CBNA, he was offered the cross-country coaching position, which he accepted. Although his formal sports experience was in baseball, basketball, or tennis, he always had an interest in running. At age 28, he had participated in a few 5Ks, but didn't have formal running experience. That, however, was something that his friend Tim excelled in. Tim Cox grew up in Suffern, New York. By his junior year in high school, Tim was running all 3 seasons and attended UNCW on a full scholarship and was a conference champion. Tim had 4 different coaches through his college experience. He was always reading, training, and coaching books to learn more. He and a group of friends coached the junior Olympic team called the Cape Fear Flyers. Tim and his wife Jen, who is from Massachusetts, wanted to move north. They wanted to live in a quiet area that wasn't as hectic as New York or Massachusetts. Brent was instrumental in getting Tim an interview at Co-Brown. Soon he was hired as a special education teacher. Once at CBNA, he started helping Brent as a volunteer coach. 40 students were on the team that year, and there were a lot of students eager to learn about the sport of cross country. Today, it's not uncommon for the teams to be 70 kids strong. Brent and Tim will be the first to tell you 2 things. First, their skills complement one another's strengths and weaknesses. Brent is great with strategy and mental approach to running to help kids get through challenges. Tim gets more scientific with the training based on his years of running and competing. Both say they always paid attention and listened to what other experienced coaches, like Larry Martin of Londonderry and Jim Eakin of Hanover, had to say. Secondly, they joke that they never won a state championship title until Carrie Kennedy joined them as an assistant coach in 2003. She was an assistant coach for 12 years. Gradually, the coaching position became a shared co-coaching partnership. They have divided tasks over the years. Brent organizes and runs the week-long cross-country camp in Acadia National Park, and Tim manages the Run to Fall 5K race, which is the fundraiser to support the running programs. Together, their cross-country and track and field teams have earned 18 state championship titles. This includes 6 straight titles for the girls' team and 3 straight titles for the boys' team. Under their coaching, the Lady Bears earned the New England Championship in 2013. They have taken 2 cross-country teams to the national championships and 1 individual, Elizabeth Danis. Over 30 kids from their cross-country and track and field teams have earned scholarships to run at the collegiate level across divisions 1, 2, and 3. These amazing achievements have earned this pair 4 Co-Coaches of the Year awards, 2 from NHCC and 2 from US TFCCA. They both invest their time, energy, and heart to make the program a positive environment for CVNA students to run, learn, and grow in a sport that can benefit them throughout their lives. With that, we induct Brent Kasich and Tim Cox to the CVNA Athletic Hall of Fame. Congratulations to you both.
All right, we're going to do our best to entertain you. We know it's hot. We know you've been standing here. So the best way to do that without us making a fool of ourselves, because that was very humbling. Family, come on up.
All right, so when Matt told us that we were getting this honor, first we thought we were in trouble because he wanted to see both of us in his office, so we were a little bit nervous at that time, but we realized it was a chance to thank a lot of people. And first and foremost, I want to thank Brent, because without him finding CVNA in the first place, we would not be here today. And I could not imagine a better co-coach and partner to build a program with. So thank you for your never-ending energy. Make fun of me now, okay? Never-ending energy, passion, and shared love for education of teenagers and our sports.
Yeah, that's why we do stuff together. So basically, in 1999, I took an interview at a school that I knew nothing about. So I interviewed with Mr. Smith, and I've told this story to many people many times, and I'm sorry if you've heard it before. So I sat down in his office, and I was living in North Carolina. I wanted to let him know I had some New Hampshire roots. I grew up going to Conant High School on the other side of the state. Although I'm not a tall person, I played a lot of basketball. Baseball was my game as well, as was mentioned earlier. So I wanted to let him know I'm from the, part of this state. So I said, I played basketball for Conant High School. We actually won a championship back in the 80s. And he, again, I'm coming from North Carolina. I know nothing about anything going on. And he looked at me, as Dave would, and he paused, and his eyes got, a little bit intense. And if you've ever seen that before, you know what I mean. And he looked at me and he said, "You realize we just lost to Conant in the finals in basketball last week." And it's a true story. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you want me to leave right now?" And he said, "No." He's like, "You stay here and, let's have this interview." So we did. And I honestly had no intention of staying here longer than 2 years. That was our plan. my wife and I were still kids, and yes, 28 is a kid. And so we were still kids, and we had other plans, and part of those plans were to be traveling around in other parts of the country. What we learned is this community kind of sucked us in, and this place and this sport is a great way to raise a family. And so we learned that being here was probably the place for us, not probably, definitely. And so when I got the position in 1999, the first thing I did is I called Tim up on the phone and I said, you're not gonna believe it, you know, and believe it or not, cross-country coaches, it's tough to get the spot if you love the sport. And I'm like, I have a head coaching position in cross-country right now. And I'm coaching softball at the time. And I called him up. We went through that season together. I see some faces of parents out there who know exactly that season and what I mean. And it was an amazing year, and it was a lot of fun. We were able to score in both boys and girls, and that was a big, thing for us. And so we were able to kind of move forward from there. And so once I called Tim, then I'm going to let him take over from there. You got it together now?
Yeah, I got it together. All right, good. So I think it's an understatement that to say we love Co-Brown in this community. With our wives working out for CBNA and now our eldest kids attending school here, which I cannot believe is happening, it's like a blinking of an eye. All the while choosing to live here in Northwood. It's safe to say we're all in and are proud of it. 18 years ago, Brent somehow magically got me an interview. Did he pay you off, Dave? I'm just wondering, because he told you I was a Yankee fan before, right? So I don't know how that happened. But I had a feeling this was a special place right away, and I'm sure glad I was right. So thank you all, obviously.
So when I first started coaching this group, that way back, I always told the kids, I'm like, look, you know, you guys are the foundation of what we're going to try to accomplish. And I didn't really know what I was talking about. I just knew that there was something special that was brewing. And so, you know, and people that are younger, this is the truth. You blink your eye, and 20 years later, here you are. And here we are.
I got it. So, yeah, you were supposed to talk about this and that. You got this one? Okay. So, you might back up for a second, but we definitely want to thank, obviously, a lot of people. And one of the people that we want to thank is Matt Skids. And he pretty much planned this just so he can embarrass the heck out of us because he knows we love being up here. But did you guys know that for the second time in 12 years, voted on by all the athletic directors in New Hampshire, he's the New Hampshire Athletic Director of the Year again? So we want to say thanks. So, told you I was going to do it. So working with you, Matt, as our AD has been a distinct pleasure. Thank you always for being there and good, honest support and always having our professional backs, all the while dialoguing and truly sharing the same value system, which is kids first as the centerpiece.
All right, so before I do my little entertaining part of the T-shirts, I do want to make sure I thank Mr. Smith and the board for their amazing support. The support in our sport, we're a strange sport. You know, we don't take place right there. And we're all over this community, as you guys know, and we're all over the country. And so for them to allow us to compete both all over New England and even flying all the way out to Oregon, we appreciate that. And we know how outside of the box that is. And to bring our camp up into Bar Harbor, Maine, it's really an amazing thing to be able to have this kind of support that we have. So without further ado, I would also like to bring each of our children up. And so whoever's first, let's start with Lukey. Who's first? All right, so Lukey. So in the back of each one of these shirts is basically some sort of saying that we always put on all of our shirts. And so whenever we're doing these things, we give all the other coaches in our school, you know, ammo to make fun of us and so forth, and that's great. But these things have great meaning to us as a team. Sometimes it's personal and sometimes it's not. And this one right here, what we did is we tricked all the kids into training. And so during camp, we kind of laid out what we thought would be the ingredients of an incredible team and what they needed to do. And so then we put that on the back of the shirt to remind them of what they committed themselves to. So, and that took place, and, you know, we're incredibly fortunate back in, I think this one goes back to 2003-ish, and that's when that run of those incredible championships took place. Next, you want to do one? Okay, good. Next one? So the courage to commit is one of our favorite sayings, and so the courage to commit comes around where it takes a lot of courage. As you were up at the race today, you know what these kids over here are going through and what they put themselves through. It's a personal journey, but our sport is the ultimate team sport as far as we're concerned, and each one of our titles and things that we've won, really it's about team effort, and it's about that 1 through 40, if you will, of putting the best into it. So they all have the courage to commit themselves both to the training, sometimes year-round, and certainly during that race. Thanks, Bubba. This kid's not too fast. I'll take another one right here. Yeah, all right. So we talk about, the moment, and you've got to embrace the moment. And so this was one of the shirts we wore back in the mid-2000s. And one of the things that we've always tried to help kids see, as Mr. Smith says at Assembly, is don't, be thankful for what you have and not what you are wishing for, that sort of thing. He says it better than I do. And what we're trying to do is get kids to embrace in the moment that they're in and just really be thankful to be young. You imagine being young right now and being young and being able to do the things that you're capable of doing. So that's what that comes from. What do you got, Addie? This is my favorite one right here because this really sums it up. It's all about the journey, and it comes. Sorry, kid. So it comes down. All right. So it's all about the journey. It comes down to we've gone through a lot. We've had kids go through different parts of their lives and so forth. We've seen a lot of things, and we've seen a lot of wonderful things, and you see a lot of sad things. And so that's kind of what that wraps up.
So you can see that it's kids are first, and the rest of who we really want to thank has helped us over the last 18 to 20 years to help us with our sort of quest to keep them first and to keep that in mind as we go. So when we're looking at this, we have to obviously thank all the assistant coaches we've had over the years. And just to name a few, Mike Costu, obviously Carrie Kennedy, we didn't start winning anything until she showed up, Dave Zink, Greg Hall, Nate Bassett, Dan O'Rourke, Shane Hurd's in Kentucky somewhere. We have to thank him. Tim Toscano, Peter Adesano, and recently Corey Dow. We just want to thank you for all of your support, but most of all your shared love of coaching the kids in the CBNA. We also want to thank the parents in this community because hosting, it takes a village, as we all know, and in our sport especially. And putting on home meets to invitationals, the state championships, which we did a few years back. Together we've produced a New England-wide reputation for Co-Brown for putting on first-class events our community can be proud of. But we most importantly want to thank you for allowing us to use sports we coach as a tool to educate and better your kids. And again, most importantly, we want to thank the number one reason we love our jobs, which are the kids. Because bottom line, all right, Brent, I need you back up here.
You got it. This is how we roll. I know it's kind of, if those of you that think we're all like soft and whatnot, you come on up here. It's not easy. Punacella, I see you out there laughing at me. All right, so, good to see you, buddy. All right, so, this is the last one, and it's all about I'm excited and nervous, and that kind of sums up everything, doesn't it? And so I'm both excited and nervous. It's something that a friend of ours said when he was about to put on our camp that we were working on together, and we just kind of played off of it. And, I really want to tell all you guys that being this coach and being able to do what we're doing, we're the lucky ones. And we've learned so much from this community, and we've gained so much from this community, and we've gained so much from these kids. And so somehow we keep getting these most amazing kids that come along, besides you, Corey, and just come along and do so many great things for us. So thank you for being here. Thank you for standing in the heat and watching us sap. And Tim wants us to thank one more thing. And if neither of us thank Mary Susan Smith, boy, we better right now because we'll be in trouble later on. So I don't know if he did, but that's out there now too.
That was your part. That was your part.
Yeah, I thought so.
The very last thing, obviously, we want to thank our families, our wives, and our kids, and our mother and father-in-laws, because they're our foundation. And without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. And obviously, thanks to all of you. So thank you very much for this honor. Have a great day.
I didn't thank my wife.
Who believes red and white?